staying at home. Before I start, I want to ask you one question. Have you ever walked on the street when there is no street lights on and it's pitch dark? You can't see anything. Yes, it is very difficult to walk on the streets when there is no light. So have you ever thought how our ancestors have managed to travel in the dark? Now in our lesson, Light in the Night by Claire Horsburgh. So in this lesson we will see how people of London in 16th century have managed to light up their streets, and how the idea of lighting up the streets have came into existence, and how this concept gave some people to work all night lighting up the lamps.
Now let's see into the lesson Light in the Night by Claire Horsburgh. Claire Horsburgh has worked as a teacher in the UK for a number of years. She now works closely with her father Nicholas Horsburgh and is also creating a graded reading series for children. Let's look into the meanings of some words that we come across the lesson. Cloudless, clear and free of clouds, the sky with free of clouds. Moonlit, lit by moon, the light that you see when the moon is out, that's moonlit. Socialize, participate in social activities. Enforce, to make sure something is done. Lamplighters, the one who light up the lamp. Installation, the action of fixing something in place ready to use. Maintenance, the state of being used and preserved. Rapidly, very quickly. Manufacture, make something on a large scale using machinery. Fueled, supply or power with fuel. Dripped, to fall out of its place. Astonish, greatly surprised or impressed, amazed. Admirable, arousing or deserving respect and approval. Illumination, lighting or light up. Agility, ability to move quickly and easily. Wick, a string in oil or in the middle of the candle that is lit for burning. Foresee, be aware of beforehand or predict. Dribbling, fall slowly in drops or a thin stream. Bonnets, a woman's or child's hat tied under the chin and with a brim framing the face. Now here I have put a small picture of a woman wearing a bonnet so that you can understand. Now let's read the lesson. Now before we read, in this text we will see very interesting historical details about the lamps in the city of London. So let's read the lesson, children. London is a major capital city. At night, it glows brightly like most modern cities. Before the 1700s, London was much smaller than it is now. On cloudless moonlit nights, people would take advantage of the moonlight and go out to socialize. But nighttime in the city could be dangerous. You would trip, fall and injure yourself. If you fell in the river, you could drown. You could be attacked or robbed by the criminals who roamed the streets. You could easily get lost. If people wanted to go out at the night, they would have to carry a burning torch or lamp, or if they were rich enough, pay someone else to carry it. So in the first paragraph, we'll see that London is the major capital city. Now before 1700s, there were no street lamps at that time, and London was much smaller than it is now. So people used to socialize when there is moonlight. In the moonlight, under the moonlight, the people used to socialize. They meet one another and they have some social activities under the moonlight. But night time, it is in the city, night time in the city could be dangerous. So one cannot walk in the night time on the streets when there are no lights around. So they could trip, fall, or if they fell in the river, then they could be drowned. And robbers, yes, they could be attacked by the robbers and robbed. They could be robbed by criminals who roamed the streets. So when one has to walk on the streets, they have to carry a torch or a lamp, and it is very difficult in those days to walk on the streets, and those who are rich enough, they pay someone else to carry it for them. There were many link boys who would, for a small fee, hold a burning torch or lamp ahead of the people so that they could see the way through the dark streets. Some of these link boys were dishonest and would rob the people who had employed them and then run off and leave them in the dark. So, when some people who are rich enough, they hire some boys. These boys are called link boys. So for small pay, for a small fee, they hold the torch or a lamp in front of the people to see the way. But some boys are very dishonest, that they rob the people who had employed them, who have given them the job. They are very dishonest and they have no loyalty at all. So they rob them and they run off, leaving them in the dark. So by the early 1700s, busy cities like London and Paris had street lamps in some areas. In Paris, which had street lamps before London, the first street lamps were actually lights placed in the windows of houses. The police enforced a law that said every house had to have a lamp burning in the window all night long. If the lamp went out, people would have to get up to relight it or face being fined. Some people started to offer their services as lamp lighters. In return for payment, lamp lighters would put up a lamp outside the house and make sure it was lit. The street lamps reassured people and made them feel safer. The authorities realized the benefits they brought and took over the installation and maintenance of them. All over Europe, the use of lampposts grew. So here in this paragraph, we see that in early 1700s, London and Paris were busy cities at that time, and they had the street lamps. Paris had the first street lamps before London. So the first street lamps were actually the lamp placed outside the window of every house. So actually lights placed in the windows of houses. So the police have enforced a law. So they had a law at that time that all the houses on the streets should place a lamp outside the window and see that it is lit all night. So if the light went out, then they have to again get up and relight the lamp. So if they fail to do that, they have to pay a fine. So in return, so some in this case, some people have came forward to offer their services for some amount. So they started their services to put up a lamp outside the house and make sure that the lamp burns all night. So when people were doing this, the authorities also realized the benefits they bought and took over the installation. So the authorities have started to install the lamp posts all over the streets. So now instead of every house placing a lamp outside the window. Now the authorities have taken up the duty of installing these lamp posts, and all over the Europe the use of lamp posts grew. In 1700s, London grew rapidly and became the world's center of trade, manufacturing and fashion. Now here we see that a small a picture where a lamp post is there. So people used to keep like this lamp posts outside their windows. Now here we see a lamp lighter who's lighting up the candle in that lamp post. So as we continue, children, yes, business became important and lights were needed to keep the city working and entertaining into the night. So now the cities have become very busy, and business, trading and business have became very important at that time. So they needed lights. Lights were needed all over the city, so that even in the night also the city could be working. By late 1700s, London had so many street lamps that visitors to the city were amazed by them. The lamps were fueled by wax or oil that gave off an unpleasant smell and often dripped. So many people were employed as lamplighters because each lamp had to be lit by hand every evening. One German tourist visiting London in the 1700s wrote in his diary, as it was quite dark, when I came back the first evening, I was astonished at the admirable manner in which the streets are lighted up. The bright lamps made the city seem exciting and lively. The lamps are so near each other that even on the most ordinary and common nights, the city has the appearance of festive illumination. So one of the German visitor, he wrote in his diary that he was astonished at the admirable manner in which the streets are lighted up. So he was admiring the way the city looked with all those lamps in the street, and even in the common and ordinary nights also the city gave the appearance of festive illumination, like some festival is going on. It gave that appearance to the city. All these lights gave that appearance. So as we continue, the lamplighters quickly became an important and valuable part of society. This was because they often became a key figure in their communities. So because of this, the lamplighters quickly became an important, valued part of the society. This was because they often became a key figure in their community. They would walk the same route twice a day as they checked, cleaned, fixed, lit or put out the lights. They would notice what was going on around them. Many lamplighters helped to make their route safer. Their job required energy, strength and agility and reliability. They had to keep the lights clean, make sure the wicks were trimmed to the right length, light tens of the lamps in the evening and put them all out again in the morning. Many lamplighters were pleased to be guardians in their community, and often the job would be passed on from parent to child. So the job of the lamplighters have become a very important and valuable part of society, because as they do the job, their job required energy, strength and agility, and this job was passed on from parents to children, to their children, and they have to make sure that wicks are right, wicks were trimmed to the right length, and if the light tends to put off, then again they have to put it on, and they have to see that fuel is there in that lamp, and all night they have to see, and they made their route safer also, what they can see what is going on around them. And here in this picture we see a lamp lighter climbing the ladder to switch on the light. Okay, so till here I have read the lesson. The rest of the lesson will continue in the next video. I want all of you to read this lesson and understand the job of the lamp lighters, understand the importance of the light. Yes, children? Okay.